Okay. Hi, people. Welcome to a fresh episode of Let's Talk Niger. We've reworked, we've strategized, we've planned something great for you this year, and we hope that we have so many speakers on this year's plan and episodes. For this episode, this is Cho and Corey, live and direct, and we're here to bring you an amazing person, an intelligent Nigerian who is very passionate about what he does. I would introduce him in a bit, but first, I just want to say welcome to a fresh episode and thank you so much for listening to the several episodes we've done last year. We're very grateful and we look forward to an amazing year with you. So, who is this amazing person? Feride, who is this amazing person? Do you want to say
I
a
think his
thing or two before I
profile.
do the proper introduction?
I don't think his profile would do justice, because you have to summarize your profile before you send it out. If not, it will be 3 or 4 pages. So I think you can read some of them so that they get an idea of who the person we're talking with today is.
Okay, so I won't mention the person's name. I'll just say a thing or two. In fact, I will try to avoid the very obvious one. So this person has founded and scaled several category defining technology businesses in Africa. They are very, very popular businesses, which I'm going to skip so that because if I mention it, you already know what I'm talking about. Before that, he founded an engineering organization, and this organization empowered, trained engineers, software engineers, and then for both companies, to show you that he's a real businessman, he raised millions in funding for these businesses. He was named 30 under 30 in enterprise technology by Forbes and 100 most influential Africans by New Africa. So to now give you guys the
Wow.
hints, I'll mention the two companies that he founded. So one of the companies is Flutterwave and the other is Andela. So without saying too much, I'm sure you can guess who we're talking about. So I'll just go direct to the questions. Who are we talking about, sir? Can you just tell them your name? So now they've heard Flutterwave,
Sure.
they've heard Andela.
Yeah, sure. My name is Iyin Aboyeji. Everybody calls me E. And I'm super excited to be on your podcast. Um, my I currently am the founding partner of the Fund for Africa's Future, more popularly known as Future Africa. We invest extremely early, typically the first check, in businesses that are taking Africa's biggest challenges and turning them into global businesses. So super excited to be here on your podcast.
Thank you so much. We're so excited. We don't even know how to act. We're just, ready to ask questions. So, one thing that we realize is a lot of people tend to tie you directly with these two major companies that I mentioned, and of course, Future Africa. But we
hmm
want you to tell us, like, who do you want people to say you are, so to speak? Who is in? Like, tell us what, without tying you to any business. Who are you? Who is in?
I always say I'm first and foremost a child of God, um, and that really defines sort of even what I do in business. Um, I see the work that we do at the business as a way of, co-creating with God, um, and a way of taking challenges which are a part of our everyday life and showing people the incredible potential that lies in leaning into those challenges and building global businesses out of them. A lot of people say, even as they said in the Bible, how can anything good come out of Nazareth? Um, but I think what we've been able to consistently do by the grace of God over the last 10 years and hopefully for a very long time into the future is consistently churn out incredible things from Nigeria, despite all the naysayers and doubters. So that is really who I want to people to say I am.
Interesting. And you mentioned something about naysayers, people not necessarily believing in what you want to do until maybe they now see the value that you're bringing into it. Then they're attracted to you and they want to be in the same space with you. So just riding on that, we want to just to you to tell us what motivated you to decide to empower, because an empower young talents in Africa. Speaking of Pan Africa now.
Yeah. Um, the the reality of our continent is really that um, although a lot of people come to Africa for natural resources, um, the greatest resource that we have is our people. And you only need to see even those who were taken away forcibly, like the African Americans and the Caribbeans. You can see what they have achieved in those, even as in their fair of life. And then even more recently, you look at immigration, whether forced or unforced, right? And you see what people have been able to achieve, outside the shores of this country. And you know that it's not because those countries are great, because the conditions that they've had to build in are not exciting if you actually talk to any of them. But it's because of who they are. It's not because of those countries like most people think. It's because of how talented we are. And so my belief that our greatest resource as a continent is our young people, is what has led me down this path. But then, even speaking on a more factual demographic basis, the reality is that there are 100,000 children born every day on the African continent, right? In the US, where I am right now, there are 25,000 babies being born every day. And that number is declining, right? We manufacture the most human beings in the world, more than we manufacture any other kind of exports of food. And so naturally, we have to find a way to make these young people productive. Otherwise, they will consume us with violence and strife, which is precisely what is happening today. So that's the other reason why I think it's really, really critical to empower young people.
Quite interesting. I mean, for those
Awesome.
listening, just knowing that fact alone about the number of children that are being born should be a motivating factor for you to want to prepare for them. Because I mean, we always tend to blame our past for any mistake that we're or any challenge we're facing right now. But what are we doing to prepare for those coming as well? So I think
Exactly.
that's a very, very important thing to note as young individuals in Nigeria. So speaking on that, I know these days, especially when we do our research at Dacurate, we find that most people want to be a tech bro or a tech sister, as the case may be. But I want to just speak on the tech ecosystem. Like, can you tell us more? I mean, that's your area. So maybe you should educate us a bit more on how exactly, what's the truth of the tech ecosystem in Africa?
I mean, ultimately, because the tech ecosystem is really born out of a reality that, like I said, we've got a lot of young people. The opportunities that are tied to geography, that is where they are not compelling enough, right? And so a lot of young people have chosen to work on the internet so that they will be able to, improve their chances of building an incredible life. And, quite a number of them have succeeded at doing so. And so this has created a an opportunity, for a lot of young people to improve their lives by, being on, going into technology businesses or working for technology companies. And I don't know. I mean, I figure a lot of them are in the industry because it pays well. I don't know necessarily that everybody's in the industry because they love tech. Um, but I think that what's really incredible, regardless of why they're in the industry, is that it's big enough for everybody to get what they want. But more importantly, that the industry does represent an opportunity for for us to export human capital without them leaving the country, which is a
Yeah,
huge help, right? It can attract more foreign investment, foreign exchange, foreign direct investment, foreign revenue source, and that really, really helps the country. So, I'm super excited about what the tech community has become over the last 10 years. But I'm even more excited for what we can do over the next 10 years when we decide to turn our strengths to solving society's problems with technology. That's going to be the real treat because there's so much that technology can do to solve so many of the problems that we see around us today. Um, and although many people haven't seen those to be as profitable, part of what we want to be able to show them is that there is room for it to be profitable. So yeah.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. So now speaking on, I mean, initially when I introduced you, I said most people tend to, when they mention your name, they mention Flutterwave, they mention Andela. But of course, we know that right now, how to introduce you or talk about you and not just put your name with just Flutterwave and Andela.
Yeah. So I mean, Future Africa is a very quiet firm. It's a venture firm. So we back the next generation of Andelas and Flutterwaves. But our particular focus is supporting businesses that are turning Africa's biggest challenges into global opportunities. So we believe that, as bad as our challenges are, and they are very bad, that inspiration can be drawn from solutions to these problems to actually solve these problems that are not just plaguing us, but plaguing people all over the world. And that we think Nigerians, Africans in general, are special enough to find these solutions, and we can help them to globalize the solutions and help them build global companies from solutions. So, um, one of the companies that we that is well known, but might not necessarily be as well known to people, that we're founding investors in a company called Move. So if you've ever gotten into a Suzuki Presso in Nigeria, you probably got into one of our cars using Uber. And the big idea with that business was, how do we help Uber drivers to own their cars? We provide the vehicle finance for them, and we track them, work with them to optimize their earnings so that they'll be able to pay off the car in as little time as possible. Now that idea we've globalized, and so Move now currently has operations in UAE, um, in uh, in India, in London, in Germany, and so many countries of the world, right? Because it's managed to globalize that idea that Uber drivers, taxi drivers, anybody who's a mobility entrepreneur should be able to own their core finance assets.
Awesome.
That's quite
Awesome.
interesting.
I,
So sorry, Corey.
yeah,
So I
go
was going
ahead
to
ahead.
say,
Go ahead ahead.
the cities you mentioned, those are cities that are very, very, like they're so populated. India, um, UK, like they are places that you have a lot of people who are mobile or who want to own their own vehicles. So that's an interesting fact as well. So Corey, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I really enjoyed. I'm happy to hear that about Lyft. I wanted to ask about the whole Future Africa with your Capital's venture debt fund. I know it's aimed at founders who have big dreams. But I want to hear from him what excites him about. Let me ask you directly, Ian, what excites you the most about the next generation of entrepreneurs? What are you excited to see about the ideas of the platform?
Yeah. Well, I think the really cool thing about the next generation of entrepreneurs is that there's a lot of um, early work that has gone into building sort of a foundation. So, um, we now have a payment ecosystem that works fairly well. We have talent, so real technical talent solutions can be built. There's venture capital on the ground, and so I'm really excited about how ambitious um, the next generation of founders can be in the businesses that they built, and how many of the next generation now have the ability to be global from day one. The ability to build businesses that can be global from day one, as opposed to just look at Nigeria or Africa as their markets. So I think for me, that it's an exciting time to be building a business in this light, in this realm. So looking forward to seeing founders that embody that mentality, so we can back them. And then also, because of talent, because of where the market is, there's a lot of incredible talent that's coming out of large corporations that are struggling with leveraging technology to make themselves more productive. um, but um, they have a lot of experience in the sector. They're not like spring chickens from OAU, trying to figure things out, which I don't have any problem with. But, generally speaking, you want founders that have some experience and
Mm.
relationships that they can bring to the table as well, so that you can forge the best technology path. Um, and I'm excited that we can get those types of founders now.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I think my last question, I think, before I hand over to Cho is what's your advice for young entrepreneurs across Africa? What advice would you give them if you were in a room full of them? They're actually listening to this as well. So, what would you tell them?
Yeah, um, I think there's a lot of Africa's problems that are real, but there's a lot of our problems that are the result of learned helplessness. And a lot of people just imagine problems that don't actually exist. Um, you know, because they want to psychologically um, give themselves an excuse for not making things better. And so my advice is, um, as the theme for 2024 is, no grief for
No
anybody.
green for
Anybody?
anybody.
But more importantly, no grief um for bad situations. There's always a solution to whatever problem that you face that has nothing to do with government, that you can actually bring about on your own, and you can turn to an incredible global business, if you actually focus on delivering real value. So that would be my advice.
Thank you for that.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so my final question is, well, if I ask the question, like I said earlier, Dacurate is a platform that does research for Nigerian youth and Nigerians, both within and outside Nigeria. So what we try to do is get correct, clean information on politics, economics, governance, health, different sectors, and we just make sure that people are more informed. So on that note, I know last year we did a lot about politics. So I want to ask you a question related to politics because people tend to
Hmm.
ask you about money a lot. So first question is broken into two. There's A and B. The A part of it is, do
Okay.
you belong to any political party?
Okay. Okay.
If yes, you want to go
Well,
to part
I
B
can
of it.
answer
This is
that.
my
I can
question.
answer that first. I actually don't currently belong to any political party. I did in 2014 joined the APC, but I resigned in 2017. But I've advised political parties across the spectrum, and in fact, my last foray in politics was leading Madame Obieze Kwesili's campaign, um, under the new Nigerian ACPN, right, in 20 in 2019.
18 to
So
2019.
I started in APC. I went to ACPN. I didn't join the party though, but I worked in the campaign. But right now I'm entirely politically agnostic. I'm not a member of any political party. I do encourage more people to join political parties though.
Okay.
But I feel for me, because my job, um, what I do now is advise political parties across the spectrum. I have friends in the PDP, friends in the APC, friends in the Labour Party, as hard as it might be to believe. But yes, I have friends across the political spectrum, and I advise them actively. And so, I don't join any political parties.
Okay. So the last question is a trick question, so you can choose to respond or not. So
Hmm.
because we didn't interview you last year during the elections, we still have to ask you this
Hmm.
question. Who did you vote
Yeah.
for?
So you know what? I, I know I'll
That's why it's
answer.
called a
I'll
secret
answer.
vote.
I know. So I didn't vote in the presidential elections. I
Oh,
didn't vote in
Interesting.
presidential elections. I did vote in the state and local government elections, and I will not tell you who I voted for because you wouldn't even know who they are. I voted in the
I,
state and state assembly, not local government. I am looking forward to voting in the local government elections next year, but I did vote. I didn't vote in the presidential elections.
okay.
Thank you for your
Okay,
honesty.
well,
That's
we'll
amazing.
accept that. We'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
So
Corey, do you want to close
I
this
have
out?
to ask this question before we close, and this has nothing to do with
Okay.
politics. I
Yeah.
think you've exhausted that. So we close it
Mhm.
out with what things should we expect from you and future Africa in the coming years? Let's
I mean, we are a very sleepy old financial institution at the end of the day, right? It's venture capital. They make it sound exciting. But when we do our job well, you don't hear from us, you hear from our companies. Um, but the one thing I would say we're working on that I'm super excited about is we have an accelerator that we're building for a different breed of founders. Um, think basically YC, but for Africa. And we're trying to help founders who are bold and ambitious and who look at the challenges that we face as a platform to build businesses that can go global. Um, and we want to help them to get to their aspirations by bringing together a world class group of advisors, investors to support them. So that's what I'm excited about. It's called Accelerate Africa. And we're taking applications now. We'll start April 1st. So super excited about that. But beyond that, to be very honest with you, we're just gonna keep churning out unicorns. And so you hear more from them than you hear from us.
Interesting.
awesome. Thank you so much. So
Okay,
Cho,
awesome. Thank you.
do you want to do
I
the
know I
honors
have
and
to
close the show
wait.
for us? Sorry?
Sorry, what did you say?
So Cho is about to close the show for us. So she wants us just to
Okay,
say,
fantastic. Ah,
so
of
Cho,
course.
Okay.
do you want to do us the honors?
Okay, so thank you so much, Iyin. We are very, very grateful to have you on this episode. We do not take your time for granted, and we really hope that people will learn from everything that you have said and from the questions we've asked. To our listeners, thank you so much for supporting us so far. Listen, share with your friends, family. Make sure you're also informed and educated as well, and make sure you empower others. So follow us across all social media platforms at Dacurate Insights and stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you. Cho and Corey signing out.